This story was told to me by my grandfather and his friend. They were sitting on an old bench across from a house where two sisters once lived, in a small farming town in Iowa. Everyone in town believed they were witches. People said that at night sparks would fly from their chimney, as if a fire was burning inside. Sometimes a strange white light would glow from their windows. And this was long before electricity reached that part of town. When my grandfather and his friend were boys, they decided to test something. The sisters had a garden full of large, ripe strawberries, and like most boys, they wanted to steal some. The night was quiet. The sky was clear. The full moon was bright enough to see the berries shining between the leaves. They climbed over the fence and began picking strawberries, laughing quietly. Then, suddenly, the gate creaked. They looked up and saw it. A small black cloud hovering about 3 feet above the ground, dense and dark like smoke. But it did not fade. It just floated there, silent. The boys panicked and ran. But they couldn't reach the road. The cloud was moving after them. It wasn't rolling along the ground. It was flying, low, silent, and keeping up. They ran across a field toward a sawmill outside town. Their hearts were pounding so loud it felt like the whole world could hear. Behind them, the dark shape. Closer and closer. Ahead were stacked logs. They dropped behind them, hiding, barely breathing. Carefully, they peeked out. The cloud stopped in front of the logs. And then a furious male voice came from inside it. "I'll teach you to steal strawberries." And just like that, it disappeared. Gone. They didn't return home until sunrise. They never went near that garden again. Years passed. I almost forgot this story. Until one day, a friend of mine told me something similar. He had never met my grandfather, and he lived more than 200 miles away. One evening, he and his friend were walking home. In the center of their town, there was an empty field. In front of it stood an abandoned house. Locals said a witch once lived there. Next to the house was a large haystack. As they walked by, they noticed an apple tree full of ripe apples. The house was abandoned. They thought no one would mind. They picked a few apples and walked on, laughing and eating them. Then one of them felt something was wrong. They turned toward the field. The haystack was standing directly across from them. They walked faster. The haystack moved too. But it wasn't rolling. It was floating, low above the ground, without a sound. They ran. The haystack followed. They jumped behind a gate and turned around. The hay hovered in front of them, and from inside it came the same angry male voice. "I'll teach you to steal apples." At that moment, I remembered my grandfather's story. More than 50 years separated those events. Different states, different people, but the same thing, as if something is always guarding its garden. This happened in 2004. I was supposed to meet my rafting team near a small remote station in the Northwest Mountains. We planned to start a river expedition together. I was traveling by night train across several states. The trip was long, so I asked the conductor to wake me before my stop. He didn't. I woke up exactly when the train was already leaving the station where I needed to get off, so I had to leave at the next one. The station was almost abandoned. No people. Almost no lights. Only darkness and forest surrounding the tracks. I found a man nearby and asked how to reach the highway. A dirt road followed the railway line, and I decided to either hitch a ride or walk to the meeting point. It was about 8 miles away. The man showed me the direction but tried to stop me. He said it was already night and no driver would pick me up until morning. I just smiled. I had plenty of hitchhiking experience and wasn't worried. My friends were waiting for me. I reached the road and sat on my backpack at the roadside. Almost 3 hours passed. Several cars drove by, but none slowed down. In fact, drivers seemed to speed up when they noticed me. Eventually, I decided to walk. The night was completely dark. Endless forest on both sides. I felt strangely alone, like being in empty space. Even animals were silent. Only a few stars appeared through gaps in the clouds. I had almost lost hope when I suddenly heard an engine behind me. I turned and started waving my arms. A huge logging truck stopped behind me, raising dust from the road. I ran to the cab. 2 drivers were inside. They helped me lift my backpack and agreed to take me to the next station. During the drive, they kept asking how I dared to walk through the forest at night. "What about bears?" one of them asked. I told them everything was fine. The railway was nearby and animals usually avoided people. After that, the drivers exchanged a strange look and smiled in a way I didn't like. We continued driving slowly. Then the headlights suddenly revealed a figure standing in the middle of the road. Completely still. The person wore normal outdoor clothes, old and worn. A backpack on his shoulders. But there was no face. Where the face should have been, there was only darkness, like a hole. And from that darkness, it felt like he was looking directly at us, waiting for the truck to stop. It lasted only a second, but it felt much longer. I froze. The driver shouted and sharply turned the wheel to avoid the figure, then pressed the gas pedal hard. For a moment, it felt like something was chasing us, like it could appear at the window at any second. We slowed down only after reaching the station. For a while, none of us spoke. Then the drivers told me something. Between those 2 stations, strange things had been happening for years. People who walked that road sometimes disappeared. Drivers tried to avoid traveling there at night because accidents happened often. And sometimes, in the darkness, they saw a man without a face standing on the road. That was why no one stopped for hitchhikers there, especially at night. They told me I was lucky. A very lucky idiot, as they put it. They didn't know much about what locals called the Black Hitchhiker. They weren't from the area either. But people said meeting him at night usually meant trouble. I got out near the station. They showed me where to go and drove away. As I ran toward the platform with my heavy backpack, I couldn't stop shaking. It felt like someone was right behind me, like that dark figure was breathing down my back. I'm still alive and fine, but sometimes I still dream about that road. Headlights cutting through dust in the middle of the forest. A lonely figure standing ahead. And a face that isn't there. It's embarrassing to admit, but as a child I was spoiled and dramatic. If I didn't get what I wanted, I would scream, cry, and throw myself on the floor. And the strange thing is, I looked like a little angel. Curly hair, lace dresses, big bows. Adults melted when they saw me. But the angel disappeared the moment I didn't get my way. One autumn evening, my mum and I were waiting at a bus stop near a toy store. I had just broken one of my dolls, so I started yelling, "Buy me a new one, the store is right there." People were watching. My mum was embarrassed. Then a woman walked up to us. She had long black hair, dark eyes, a scarf wrapped over her jacket. She looked like a fortune teller. "What a beautiful girl," she said softly. "I have a gift for her." She pulled out a small doll. It was strange. Black hair, a dark expression, a scarf tied over its dress, just like hers. I stopped crying immediately. My mom reached for her wallet. The woman shook her head. "No money. It's a gift." Then she walked away. Fast. Too fast. Within seconds she was gone. We took the doll home. That's when things changed. Lights burned out for no reason, appliances turned on by themselves, and every time something happened, the doll was in that room. I was blamed, of course. Then my other dolls started breaking. Heads came off, arms separated, legs snapped. Soon, only one doll remained. The one she gave me. One night, I woke up. The woman was standing in the corner of my room. She was cutting my stuffed toy with a knife. But what came out didn't look like cotton. It looked like blood. Her hands were red. I tried to scream. She put a finger to her lips, and I lost my voice. Then she vanished. My voice came back. I called for my mom. The stuffed toy was on the floor, cut open. After that, no one blamed me anymore. One day, I got angry. I threw the doll against the wall. One tiny plastic finger broke off. Its face changed. The eyebrows looked sharper. The mouth slightly open, as if it was smiling. At that exact moment, my father screamed from the kitchen. He had been cutting meat. He accidentally struck his own hand. He lost his little finger. That's when I understood. You don't hurt the doll. I stopped sleeping. I thought about giving it away. That night, the woman appeared again. She silently shook her finger at me. The next day, I sat in the living room with my mom and grandmother. The doll was in my lap. Suddenly, my grandmother gasped. She had pricked her finger with a needle. A drop of blood appeared. I looked at the doll. It was smiling. I screamed, "Take it out on me! Just leave them alone!" And I threw it out the window. We lived on the 10th floor. As it fell, I heard a scream. Not plastic. Human. They never found the doll below. No pieces. Nothing. The woman never came back. But even now, when I see a black-haired doll, or a woman in a scarf watching too closely, I feel something breathing behind me.